Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. We are told in Fort Bend County that we should be popping the champagne, that we should be celebrating the heroics of our county Republicans and our county Republican leadership. Because our county Republican Party and our Republican leadership have redistricted Fort Bend County to put us into a tie situation with the Democrats. They put us into a tie. They put us into a stalemate position. And in any other competition, in sporting events, in other competitions, people generally disdain ties. Nobody likes it. But according to our local heroes, a tie is something that you should celebrate, pop the champagne, and go congratulate your local Republicans for putting us into a stalemate with the Democrats. When, oh, by the way, they could have easily put us into a winning situation in Fort Bend through the redistricting process. And one person that they are really congratulating is a longtime county commissioner named Vincent Morales. And Vincent Morales is a Republican, and they are celebrating him, and the question is why. It was the redistricting committee that would make suggestions to the commissioner's court on the different redistricting map options. And the redistricting committee was comprised by appointees, and it was stacked by Republican appointees. And Vincent Morales' appointee, Wendy Duncan, was the first one to take a shot across the bow of the Republican Party and of the people of Fort Bend by proposing a heavily favored Democrat map as the new map of Fort Bend. So the people of Fort Bend were generally stunned when a Republican appointee proposed a map that was heavily favored towards Democrats. So you have a Republican appointee, Vincent Morales' appointee, doing that, and the question is why? That's the first question. And then the second question is, did Vincent Morales know she was going to propose such a map? Did they have a conversation beforehand? Did Vincent screen her before appointing her? And if so, why would he be okay with this favorited Democrat map? This is simply a question. Well, the theory is that the 3-1 Democrat map, in that scenario, there is one incredibly strong Republican precinct. It's a fortress of red. But it would always be outnumbered by the Democrat precinct. So the Democrats just sort of put everybody red in one precinct, give it that one vote, whereas the Democrats would be spread out over the other 3 precincts, and it would always be a 3-1 scenario. So regardless of the amount of crime that the Democrats would commit, they could do anything they want and there would be no repercussions because they would own the county in perpetuity. But that one fortress of red, that one Republican precinct, just so happens to be Vincent Morales' precinct. This is the theory. So that would put him in a position as the one sole Republican in Fort Bend. And that would put him in a district where he would never be challenged by a Democrat. Never. And from that position, he could manage considerable fundraising projects. So he would be in a very strong position. And so that is the question. Did Vincent Morales do that calculation? And is that the reason that a heavily favorited Democrat map was proposed by his appointee? And if that is the case, then why are we celebrating him today? Because if that is the case, he is simply a political opportunist. His regard does not appear to be for the citizens of Fort Bend, but more for his own political interests. And could it be that we have discovered one more rhino in Fort Bend County? And over the past few years, we keep coming across these types. We came across J.C. Jeton. We're learning about Stan Kitzman. And it appears that this line of rhinos runs deeper than we think in Fort Bend. Now, to this day, Vincent Morales speaks highly of Wendy Duncan. So if he put her out there, and he wanted a true map that would represent the Republicans, then she would have crisscrossed him. It would have been a crisscross. Is that the case? But if that was the case, we would see some resentment in him today, and we see none of that. We are not seeing any of that. So that's the question: is why? And we must ask if he was okay with that heavily favored Democrat map. This is simply a question. Well, here's the point going forward. Now, everything comes down to the county judge race. So everything's coming down to the county judge race. So this entire exercise could be for nothing. Because if we lose the judge race, then everything gets handed back over to the Democrats. So as we move into this contentious race, this highly risky race, this highly risky scenario going forward, are we to ask the question, why is this happening? Who put us in this position where we could potentially lose the county again? Who put us in this position when we had victory in our reach? Who put us in this position where we could lose it all? We have to ask that question. You know, what the message is today coming from your county Republican Party is, look, we gave you a 2-2 stalemate. Now go out and win the county judge race. Bring us the county judge race. And you see how that is? That's a negotiation tactic, right? So the county Republicans are telling you to go do the work. Save the county by giving us the judge race. But isn't the question, wait a minute, shouldn't you have given us the county by giving us a 3-1 stacked Republican map? You see how that negotiation goes? The Republicans negotiate harder with the citizens of Fort Bend County than they do with the Democrats. Remember, we had a 3-1 Republican scenario in our reach. And with no pushback from the Democrats, the Republicans immediately ceded that ground, right? They ceded it. There was no pushback from the Democrats. They just immediately moved the ball into their end of the football field. Who does that? So there you have the Republicans negotiating harder with the people themselves than they do with their counterparts, the Democrats. But you see, there's another scenario going on here. And over the last few days, Dexter McCoy has made quite an audacious display. And there's a lot of things you can say about Dexter McCoy, but the one thing you can't say is you cannot say that the man is not motivated. The man is clearly motivated. And it would be very foolish to dismiss Dexter McCoy. And remember, over the past couple days, the Republicans have embarrassed him, have mocked him, have made a fool of him. And now you have one man who's ready on a mission. What do you think Dexter McCoy was doing last night? Do you think he was stewing? Do you think he was planning? Do you think he was making calls and making notes on how to win this county judge race? What I think the Republicans have done is they've kicked the hornet's nest, and then they kept the Hornets in game, right? They kept Dexter in the game. So now you have a Democrat Party on a mission. And as much as the Democrats are a wounded animal right now, they are still a mean political machine. So the question is, it all comes down to this judge race, a position we never had to be in. And let's say, God forbid, but let's say it happens that the Democrats win the county judge race. Well, then the question is, can the Democrats redistrict again, right? Well, the truth is there may be some safeguards, some obstacles built in to stop them from doing that. But at the same time, they broke the law the first time to redistrict the map. So the rules aren't so important to the Democrats. They do what they want come hell or high water. And should they redistrict again, are they going to go with a 2-2 scenario? Are they going to be the kind gentleman across the aisle? No, they are not. We all know they aren't. So what we have now is a desperate situation where we got to win that county judge race and in order to save the county. And so that's my 2 cents on popping the champagne right now. I think we are far from popping the champagne. And I think our Republican leadership has some serious work to do to dig us out of this hole. And with that being said, that's Fort Bend County. But today we're going to turn our show towards Harris County, and we have an incredible show. And we're going to discuss a lot of these issues regarding Harris County, because on Harris County, there is a heck of a judge race coming, county judge race, county commissioner's court. And we have 2 candidates here today, very well-informed men who are going to educate us on the state of those races in the state of Harris County. And in our studio today, we have Oscar Gonzales, a candidate for Harris County judge. Oscar, how are you doing today?
Doing great.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Well, I've learned a little bit about Oscar. He is a native of Houston.
Yes.
Born and raised, still lives in near the neighborhood he grew up in, correct?
Yes.
Spent 30 years as a deputy sheriff?
Yes.
Working at the rank level with the people the entire 30 years.
That's correct.
So I would say that you have a very intimate, good knowledge of working with people at the ground level.
Absolutely.
Well, the political establishment doesn't like that. But that's great. And the other thing I want to say about you is that at the state of your campaign today is that you have an incredible network comprised of local people. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
How many?
About 1,000.
So you have 1,000 of the common folk of Harris County already working for you.
Yes.
Well, that's excellent. That's very good. That's exactly what we need. And, the phoenix always rises from the ashes, and it's going to be the people and not the political establishment that makes that happen. So we're going to be watching your campaign. I think it's going to be really interesting. And finally, we have Richard Vega, candidate for Commissioner Court Precinct 2 in Harris County. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Richard and I met before because in Fort Bend County, we were protesting the graphic books that are in the school libraries, and Richard had an epic speech at that event, and it got millions of views. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, but within 24 hours, it was like almost 5 million views, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was incredible, and I got a sense of where you stand, where your moral code is at that event, and I would say that event, your message and my message were all going down the same vein and making a stand for what's right for the children.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, gentlemen, I want to start off today. I talked about Fort Bend County, and one of the things that I made the argument, the one thing coming from the Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court, the reason they went with a 2-2 stalemate tie with the Democrats is they said that's just the right thing to do, that you should not be using the redistricting process as a means to take out your political opponents. And my point is that maybe in a normal scenario that would be the case, but when we are in a nightmare scenario where the Texas Democrats are so toxic to our environment, and one of the things I talked about is the amount of carnage and bloodshed that's happening right over the border in Harris County right now, and how we're starting to begin seeing that in Fort Bend. And that alone is a reason to redistrict the county in Fort Bend stacked against Democrats. That was my argument. But with that being said, tell me about the state of carnage in Harris County today.
Well, all they have to do is turn on the TV and look at how many bodies they're pulling out of the bayous. And then you also look at how many murder-suicides that are taking place. And then there's a lot of murders of children. And then you start talking about the rest of the crime that's going on. It is really, really bad. It's worse than what we're acknowledging.
State Senator Joan Huffman has said that since the Texas Democrats' bail reform program has been in place, there have been 162 murdered Houstonians. Is that a good idea of the depth of the carnage in Harris County?
No. Not at all. So back in 2021, 2022, myself and council member Kubash was actually filing grievances against the judges because at that point it was 149 people that had been arrested, got out and committed murder just in that year alone. So her numbers are way off. I think right now... It
was 149 in what year? I'm sorry, say it one more time.
I believe we filed those grievances in 2021 or 2022.
149.
Yeah, we were at 149, but it went up from there. So, but last time I had seen the number, it was already over 200. I would imagine by now it's probably 300 plus if you added all those different years, right? So maybe that's an average per year. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at that data in a while, but I know we have gone through the gauntlet because our judges haven't done their jobs. Our commissioners' court haven't done their jobs. And so what you're saying right now, what's going on in Fort Bend, I mean, do you really want a Democrat city-run government off of what they've done to Harris County? I mean, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I got a little story about all that. Mm-hmm. I retired in 2018, and in 2018 in Harris County, at the Sheriff's Department, there were 4 victims murdered by people on bond. And that was kind of shocking because that was not a normal thing. Well, since I was running in the campaign, I started doing a bunch of research, and that number has, about 2 months ago, the research I came up with, that number has risen up to about 347.
Right.
So the number is really, really big and growing practically every week.
And that's people out on bond. That's people that have been arrested for murder, got out to commit murder.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Been arrested for murder, get out to commit murder again. And in Fort Bend, we're allowing the Democrat reign of terror to continue in Fort Bend and spread over there. I mean, that's the argument that I've been trying to make, is that this is essentially a state of war at this point. That political party is unleashing demons on our society, and it's demonic. But, one of the things is that we're citing these statistics, 162, 300, 4, all these numbers, And those, those give us an idea of the level, but statistics don't do the job.
got numbers for you.
Like we almost need, these are innocent children that are being bludgeoned. These are innocent women that are being walking from the grocery store to their car and being hacked there. These are gruesome murders that are happening, and it's like a statistic doesn't give the full story.
No, because you have all the victims' families and friends. Those numbers are in the thousands. You can't even count them. We did an event where the two grandfathers were executed in the park, and that was horrible. And the numbers and the amount of victims we have that are piling up is it's too much to bear.
Okay, tell that story. What happened with these two grandpas?
They went for their morning walk at a local park.
Which park was it? Do you know?
On the south side.
No, that was on the west side, off the Beltway. I don't know.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they went for a walk in the morning, and some guy was waiting there. He was lying in wait so that he could ambush him. And he shot him from the back and chased him down and just practically executed him. I don't know how many rounds he fired, but...
just killed two grandpas 6 o'clock in the morning doing their
morning
walk. Yeah, they were best friends. They were out there. They did it all the time. They went out there to get their exercise in the morning, and this guy just went and hosed them down.
Was it a theft? Was it a robbery, or
Nope,
just a homicide?
Just murder.
It was just a homicide.
So, I live near West Belford on the border of Harris and Fort Bend, and on the Fort Bend side, there was a man walking fully nude over the weekend, and I had to drive by and see that with my family. And my argument is that when you're seeing that level of depravity, the murders are coming next.
Yes. Well, Harris County is the epicenter, and it's like an infection, and it's going to spread. It's spreading to your county. It's going to start spreading in every direction. We need to straighten it out. We need to fix it.
Yep.
There's almost 70 judicial races that are up for grabs in 2026. We need to put good conservative judges who are going to follow the law, who are going to protect the people.
If we take back Harris County, all the other counties are going to get in line. This is it. This is the epic center, like he said. Harris County has so much influence, not just across the state, across the country. It's so important. It's just crazy what's going on.
What is the reason for this carnage in Harris County?
Bail reform is a big one. It's massive. Right here, this is 1 month's worth of free bail that's been given out. 3,880 people were released for free. And the taxpayers are the ones that are taking up that bill. We used to have a symbiotic relationship with the bonding companies and law enforcement and the courts. When I worked in the courthouse, the bondsman would babysit their clients. And let me explain this real simple. Somebody got accused of a crime. They'd call a bondsman. The bondsman would take their money, and they'd have to put up collateral. The bondsman has to put up collateral with the county, and then the person is released, and the bondsman would babysit their clients, the accused. And so many times, whenever they violated their terms, the bondsman would hand deliver them to the jail, to the courthouse, to law enforcement. So we didn't have to go and try to babysit thousands of people out on bond. Well, with bond reform, they tried to take the bondsman out, and the bondsmen basically are out of the picture. And the citizens, the county is now the bondsman. We do not have the resources to watch this many people all the time. It's crazy, and it costs us a lot of money too, because pretrial services is the ones that they babysit all these people on bond, and they watch them. Their budget went from $9 million a year to over $100 million a year by taking the bondsman out of the equation. So I feel that we need to get back to something that works. The old system worked. Let's put it back in place. We can reduce pretrial services budget by a tremendous amount, get those bondsmen working so that they can babysit these people who are accused, and everybody's got to have skin in the game, because with a free bond, they're just empowered. We have a free bond. Well, I went out and robbed a bank and I got a free bond. Well, let me go do it again. Nothing's going to happen to me. There has to be accountability. Without accountability, people will run wild, especially somebody who is inclined to being conducting criminal activities.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So before there's no bondsman in the equation anymore. Is what you're saying?
There
Is, but it's very
business.
low. So
Yeah.
Harris County went through a $0 to $100 to be able to get bailed out. So you committed murder, you go in, say you're poor, you can't afford it. Okay, well fine, you can get out. Can you afford $100? No, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well you can get out on a 0 PR bond. The bondsman's, I mean, it's crippling the bondsman's, business. 100%.
Because the bonds are so low.
Correct.
So they don't even need a bondsman, right?
No, I mean, if you get, like you said, you can go rob a bank, and that's a federal crime. But if you kill someone or you do something like that, you can get out on a first degree felony for $0. And then what do? They go out and commit it again.
So can murderers actually pay their way out on bond right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Even capital murders.
So at capital murders, we had at one point, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've looked, but it's been a while since I looked. But at one point, we had 9 capital murders walking the streets out on bond. Now you think about that.
Yeah, guys, like you're sitting here telling me this, and I have a friend right now who's like, I'm going to go for a walk. She lives in Houston. She's like, I'm going to go for a walk. She's a good friend of mine. I'm like freaking out here, man. I said, watch yourself on that walk.
You have to. I mean, when you're letting people out that have committed murder or accused of murder, that's I mean, all crimes are serious, but that's a very serious crime. You took a life, and everyone has their day in court, but let's set reasonable bonds. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You got to have a reasonable bond set, be able to fit.
Yeah,
the crime.
but for murder, should there be a bond?
I mean, and I'm not a judge, and I don't know any of that, so I can't really answer that. But I mean, needs to be a high enough bond. If you're a menace to society, you're a danger to a community, then I mean, we need to be smart on who we're going to let out on the streets.
My understanding is that back in the day when we had the bond schedule, a capital murder case was $300,000 you could get out for, and murder, depending on how your history was less than that, but you could get out. But the difference is the courts were not giving you the bond. You had to put up collateral, your grandma's house, your mama's house, your daddy's truck, work tools, or whatever.
So it was a considerable effort to be able to get out on bond back in the day.
Yes, and so these people who are accused, they're not going to not show up to court. They're going to show up
because their
to
grandma's
court
house is on the line.
Absolutely. They have skin in the game. Now they don't, and that's the difference.
So now we're at a point where we went from that to capital murder suspect can literally put down a couple $100 and get out on bond,
Depending on who the judge is and what they say.
And what are who are the chieftains behind this? Is it the judges themselves, or who's doing this? Is it the DA?
It's the judges and the weak DA, but definitely the judges. And here's my take on that whole thing, right? The county commissioner's court has a lot of say, right? But all of them have remained silent through the years and stayed quiet. When I'm county commissioner, I'll do a press conference calling out every single one of those judges and every single one, the DA and everyone else. We got to be smart for our communities, right? We got to be able to protect our communities at all costs. This is ridiculous. It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, my argument since the beginning is that the people should be placed first. But in these political networks, these political fraternities, they place their colleagues first. They don't want to be rude to their colleague who they see on a daily basis. Meanwhile, these crimes of massive proportions are happening.
Yeah.
Well, what happened with the bond situation, Commissioner's Court accepted the O'Donnell settlement, okay, the O'Donnell decree. And with that, it was supposed to be just for misdemeanors.
Okay, what is the O'Donnell decree?
It's a lawsuit that was filed against the county.
In Dallas, and then it went to the Fifth Circuit Court, and then they accepted that, and it came here.
And what did it state? What was the outcome of it?
where supposedly misdemeanors could get PR bonds if they couldn't afford a bond.
What's a PR
Misdemeanors.
bond?
The low
Personal
bonds,
reconnaissance.
A couple $100.
You get out or free. But that's supposed to be for not first responders,
For
first time offenders. We're supposed to get that.
for
They had
misdemeanor
that.
low first time offenders.
Yes, they had that the whole time that I was there, from the 80s all the way to the 2018. If you were a first time offender, you could get a PR bond if you showed that you're connected to the county and to the city and the state. You had a job, you could get a PR bond. And the more things you have on your record would cause you to have a higher and higher bond. So that's where the bond schedule came in, and it was great because it put everybody on the same playing field. The judges, the magistrates, the bondsmen, everybody had an idea what your bond was going to be. Now, with bond reform, some people say that's illegal. We've been looking at the law, and it basically says there's some portions in that will allow it, but it has to be used in conjunction with the current law. So the bond schedule was very helpful back then, and the accountability, but now it's just run amok.
So one of the things that you mentioned in our conversation earlier is that there was once a symbiotic relationship between courts and police, and today that's in question. What do you mean by
Not the courts, it's the bondsman.
Okay.
The bondsman would work with the courts and the police closely because they babysit their clients, the people who are accused of crimes. And so it was really great because they have the resources to watch everybody. Used to be, ankle monitors, the bondsman would put those on the accused or the defendants. Also the breathalyzers for people who are accused of DWIs, they would have to pay for their own breathalyzer, and they'd have to pay the bondsman to put it in their car. And same thing with the leg bands. And so they were paying their own expenses. Now the taxpayers are shouldering that burden. Pretrial services is paying for the ankle monitors. I don't know what they're doing with the breathalyzers or the breath starters. They're for the cars. It won't start if you blow into it and you've been drinking. So all that is falling through the cracks. And so when I say maybe we need to go back to a system that actually worked before all these reforms and all these progressive ideas of let's do this and let's help these people out. It was working before. We need to get back to that. And let's do something where people are safer. Because there's one thing I didn't bring up. When we had the bondsman working, the fugitive rate, people that didn't show up to court, was less than 5% because they had skin in the game. Would you like to take a guess at what it is today?
I have no idea.
85%.
Oh, wow.
And then they show up to court and they keep giving them resets. Back in the day when I was there, if you didn't show up to court, they might give you one reset depending on exigent circumstances, if you could prove it. Other than that, you're going back to jail. And that doesn't happen anymore. And my understanding is it's all this progressive, soft on crime attitudes. I'm a dinosaur. I come from hard on crime time. So I like the old ways.
There's nothing wrong with hard on crime. We need to be tough on crime and protect our communities.
Yeah, we do.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. Tweak whatever we have to tweak.
Yeah.
According to state laws and whatever else we have to put in there. But we have to get back to a system that is functioning for the communities and not the criminals.
And then I'll share something else. The Chronicle did a report. They did a story saying that 54% of the population in the city or in the county will not go out after dark because they're afraid. So they're going up on taxes, and you're a prisoner in your own home. That's just terrible.
Yeah. All right. The next fun subject, depressing subject, is what is the state of the jails in Harris County?
I haven't walked in the jail, but I'll tell you, when I was down there, we didn't have 2 people dying in one day. For somebody to die in jail, it was a very rare occurrence.
When you started in 1990 or whatever,
I started in 88, and I think maybe we'd have one death here and one death there, maybe one a year, maybe two a year. There was one year where we had some kind of pneumococcal virus and went through the jail. And we lost about, I think, 8 or 10.
And those are deaths from regular occurrences, not from violence.
Right. Mm-hmm. And even then, now, my understanding, they're not from violence. The deaths are from other happenings. Medical conditions is what you read on the newspaper. But it's a lot of deaths. All you got to do is look at the news stories. I think, what has it been, 10 so far?
Last time I saw it was 9. Might be 10 by now. But that wasn't that long ago. It was 9.
10 since what period?
This year.
This year,
I think.
If I believe, if we're correct from what we've read.
We have about more than 1,000% growth in the number of deaths in our jails over the past couple of decades.
Yeah. Who's being investigated?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we also had a different program back then too, because when I was there and we fought to try to keep those nurses, there's special nurses that are trained to work inside of an incarcerated environment. They have special training. And then we have special training too. So, and I can only speak about my term. Whenever I was there, we'd go out there, we'd be making rounds all the time. We'd be checking everything. We'd be cleaning things. It was nonstop. So we were very active, and we were always keeping an eye on everybody. We're always interacting with everybody. So it was a very active scene in the jail, but that was back from the 1301 jail, which is really old. But looking back at it, that model seemed like it worked really well.
What's the difference today? What are they not doing today?
Well, now they have big rooms where they'll have like 90 inmates inside one, and you're in a pod in the middle, and it's separated with a wall. So you have one group over here of 90 and another group over here of 90, and they all mix and mingle. The old jail of 1301 would have like one cell block of about 20 or 30. So it was smaller cell blocks, smaller amounts of people in the cell blocks, and a lot more cell blocks, but we had to constantly keep moving around and walking around and checking everybody. So it's a different setup.
But give me a better idea of what type of deaths are happening in the jails today. What are they? What are they dying from?
I don't have that information. They say medical conditions. That could be a lot. So it could be a pre-existing condition.
So essentially what we have is this big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden there's this huge rise in the jails, in the deaths of the inmates in the Harris County jails, and we don't have a lot of answers as to why.
I did read one report where some of them were getting drugs, and that was a problem.
From the outside?
Yes. And some were overdosing on the drugs, and some of the people that ingested the drugs passed away from that. So...
Okay, let's talk about ICE in Harris County. Is ICE actively working in Harris County? Are the commissioners, is our local governance cooperating with them? What is the status of that effort in Harris County right now?
So yes, they've been very active in Harris County. So thank you to all the ICE agents that have been keeping our community safe. In March, they did a massive raid here in Houston area. They arrested 350 illegals that shouldn't have been here, that had ties to over 40 gangs. And then we have a sitting commissioner that requested on commissioner's court on open record, if his colleagues would break the law with him, he requested that he wanted no local law enforcement to work with ICE.
Wait. Repeat that one more time. What happened?
So a sitting county commissioner, the guy I'm running against, Adrian Garcia.
Adrian Garcia. Uh-huh.
He requested in an open court with all of his other colleagues that he wanted to put on the agenda to see if they could get the local law enforcement not to work with ICE, which is against the law.
Okay, real quick. Adrian Garcia puts forth a proposal for the commissioners to vote on to not allow our local enforcement to cooperate with ICE. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And wasn't it tied into the raise in order for them to get the raise?
He did that at the end, so it was on the budget. It was the same meeting, so he did that at the very end.
He did what at the end?
He brought up the suggestion of local law enforcement not working with ICE.
And then if they did work with ICE, they would not be subject to getting a pay raise when that came due.
No. It was on the same meeting. So no.
Oh, okay. So two separate agendas on the same meeting. Okay.
Which I mean, even with the raise, he didn't want to give him the full raise. He was still trying to nickel and dime him.
Okay,
He
but
wanted
real
to be
quick,
able to take away
let's talk
from him.
about that one in a second. Okay. So real quick, just to repeat, Adrian Garcia made a proposal to the county commissioners to not allow our local law enforcement to work with ICE. Is that legal?
That is illegal. You cannot. The local law enforcement, according to state law, they have to work with federal agents. He's asking the county to break the law. He's asking the other commissioners to break the law. He's asking the law enforcement officers to break the law. He's asking officers that he wore a badge every day for 30 plus years to take off their badge, to take off their oath, to protect our communities, not work with their brother and sisters in arms. He is literally trying to disarm law enforcement by even requesting that.
And then the officer themselves become vulnerable to legal action, if I understand correctly. But if they're not implementing the law while in uniform, does that not make them vulnerable to legalities themselves?
That's a great question. I would think so.
Right.
I would absolutely think so. If an officer is bound by law to follow the law, and he's not enforcing it, or she, that's breaking.
But here's the other point. What these county commissioners do is they try to leapfrog state lawmakers. So the state reps and the state senators are at the level where they make the law. The county commissioners have nothing to do with law enforcement. But when they make these edicts at the local level, they are attempting to leapfrog, to elevate their position to a lawmaker's position. They're essentially just reconstructing our entire governance system for their own benefit. It's insane.
He's trying to create a sanctuary city, is what it was, protect illegals from being here. I mean, and they got on the commissioner's court coming up, I think, on Thursday, that they want to give $1.3 million of attorney fees to illegals.
Wait a minute. Who's proposing this?
Commissioner's Court.
Which
Harris County Commissioner's Court.
Harris County Commissioner's Court is proposing. Say it again.
$1.3 million to give for to give legal fees for illegals.
And which commissioner proposed this?
That I don't know, but I would imagine it was probably from Adrian.
It's on the agenda?
Yeah, he was asking to get it on there. Yeah, you're going to look. But listen.
Is it expected to pass?
It has in the past. I think they've given out over $2 million in the past. So the things that, gave $500,000 to a softball league.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
The light is shining now, so we'll see. I know he's been trying to come back to the middle because he's followed a national political agenda, and people just aren't with it here in Texas. Even the Democrats that live in the communities aren't even agreeing with him at a lot of these levels.
Right.
People are tired of it. People are sick of it.
Okay, tell me again what he did with law enforcement and their raises. What was his intention there?
So
Adrian Garcia.
Yeah. So let's go back years ago. So what he wanted to do is he did an investigation, wanted to do an investigation on the constables. What he wanted to do was basically take the power away from the constables, because constables are elected officials. He wanted to be able to disband the constables and bring them underneath the sheriff so he can control just the sheriffs. Second thing is, because
okay, if I may ask, the county commissioner doesn't have any jurisdiction over the sheriff's office, so how would he benefit from that?
Well, the budgets.
Oh, they approve the budgets.
Oh, yeah.
But again, the constable's duties are set up by state law. Is that right?
Right, but Commissioner's Court controls the budget, so they can choke somebody down by not giving them money.
So what
he was trying to get the budgets of the constables underneath the sheriff.
So look, what he has 3 constables within his precinct. He took $600,000 away from Precinct 2, Jerry Garcia, a rollover budget, right? So Jerry was saving up his money to be able to roll it to the following year, to be able to buy his officers new equipment, new gear, whatever he was going to do, right? It's not like he's going on lunch and buying a house.
Jerry
right?
Garcia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the constables were upset because of the investigation, right? They all banded together. They all came together, Democrat and Republicans. So Adrian decided, you know what, I'll leave it alone. We won't do the investigation. That's number one. He came against the Shields, right? And he was losing because they united. Now we fast forward to the raises. The raises initially, Commissioner Ramsey wanted to give, I think, $260,000. Adrian did not. Go back and watch the commissioner's court. He was fighting tooth and nail to $230,000, right? $230,000. He wanted less than $200,000. Now he wanted to gain their dispatch. He wanted to gain, I forgot what else he wanted to gain, but he really wanted their dispatch, which the constables didn't want to give up their dispatch, which he didn't get it. But he still at that time, even though the budget was in the constable's fund to give them these raises, he didn't want to give them the raises to $260,000. It's like, dude, the money is there for them. It's their money anyways. Why wouldn't you give them the raises that they deserve? In fact, they should have been giving these raises to these officers year after year after year, years and years ago. So with law enforcement, he says that, you know, he'll parade and say, hey, you know, I'm a retired police officer, you know, blase, blase. But does he even really care about the shield? Does he care about the men and women that put on that uniform? You know, it's crazy to me that somebody that would retire law enforcement be so against law enforcement. Defunded police officers. Let's say what it is. He took $600,000 from Jerry Garcia. That you defunded police officers is what you did. You defunded them. And the only reason he gave them a pay raise was because of the city of Houston, because of Mayor Whitmire. He decided to give the Houston police officers the pay raise. And if he didn't do it, he was about to lose all the officers. They're about to fill a lot of gaps in HPD. And so he had no choice. He says, oh, we balanced the budget. Really? You balanced the budget? So how much of that was, how much money did you cut out of projects like juvenile programs? Because juvenile violence is up 300%. But let's cut the juvenile programs because we need to balance the budget by law. But because you put us in a $200 million deficit, Lena Hidalgo blames him. However, I mean, they're all in it together. But, I mean, there's just so much going on with that whole issue.
All right, guys, let's talk about some fun stuff. So, Lena Hidalgo, she's kind of going down the KP George route in Fort Bend, as I understand it. And essentially, as I understand it, the Democrats now see her as a lead weight. And they're sort of, discarding that lead weight. The same thing happened in Fort Bend. KP George was seen as a lead weight. Democrats are getting rid of him. He was their star quarterback for the longest time. And now KP has turned on the Democrats. Are we seeing something like that with Lena Hidalgo in Harris County?
I'm starting to think I was like, man, is she rooting for us? I mean, what is she doing? You know, back in August when she tweeted out on X that she was upset because she wasn't able to get her child programs approved, right? And we saw her outburst, right? And everybody was like, did you see her in court that day?
It was pathetic.
But she went on X and she said, I don't understand. We have the money. These Democrats, she said, we redistrict the maps in favor for them. She's talking about Adrian and Briones, in favor for them. And we created campaign war chest for them. I was like, oh my goodness, did she do that? I mean, I turned around and sent it to the AG's office. I was like, hey, this is remarkable. She's admitting not only did they redistrict the maps for Democrats, but that now she's admitting pay to play within the Harris County. And not only pay to play, that those commissioners were pay to play. And then it's interesting because now you see the Houston Chronicle just came out with in which I'm starting to think I'm like, man, what are they doing? But they came out with a recent news article that they went through all of their investigation for the commissioner's court on how many contracts were awarded out through their political campaign contributions. Adrian Garcia came in at 73% of his political contributions got contracts. So that only leaves 15% of the community to actually even get contracts. That's crazy.
Okay, wait, let's talk about that again, because what I understand is that Adrian Garcia, that the contracts that he gives out largely dictate the contributions he's getting in his war chest. Explain that again.
Yeah, so out of all the commissioners' court, he came in at the top. 73% of anybody that gives to, well, not anybody, that give political contributions were receiving contracts from the county. Now, you think about that, right? So what's that, 17% that is not, that are getting contracts that didn't give to his political contributions. That's a pay-to-play system that he has designed. Now Lena Hidalgo, y'all go look at it on X. On August 7th, she tweeted it out, that exact same thing. She said, we as in the Democrats, redistrict and help create them contractors' war chest. That's what she said. And now you see her coming on, she was upset because the balanced budget, but what did they cut? They cut the juvenile programs, I think $700,000, $900,000, almost $1 million that they cut on juvenile programs when our juvenile crime rate is up almost 300%. Juvenile crime, which Commissioners Court have neglected to even mention, is through the roof. Yes. I mean, it's crazy on what's going on with juveniles.
Well, and here's another issue. Hidalgo will get on TV and she'll say that, oh, they're cutting all these programs for all these people and all these kids, and try to start problems and issues between the law enforcement about the raise and the general population. But the reality is there are tons and tons of grants that are coming in that are dedicated for the children programs. They've got a lot of money coming in. They now have a grant team that is writing grants and bringing in a huge amount of money. And a lot of that is supposed to be earmarked for those programs that she's complaining about.
Yeah, but the grant system has already been in place for a long time. But what they did is create positions, and nothing's coming out of those programs. They're giving people fat salaries, right? So you got 45 employees in Harris County making, that they gave raises, that are all making over $250,000. You got 45 of or 9 department heads making over $400,000, something like that. The examiner got $154,000 pay raise.
Well,
I mean,
going back to the grants, there used to be one guy writing them, and when he passed away, he took all his secrets with him. So they have just created that new grant team. So that's recent.
Yeah, but the money coming in.
Yeah, the money coming in is huge.
I mean, they've been coming in, but they're creating these salaries driven base, and nothing's coming out. That was the problem, is that they're having these departments that aren't producing anything. So you're going to pay somebody $150,000 a year, and there's nothing being done.
Well, we got people that don't even live in the city or in the state who are working remotely. You know about that?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so they have created a top-heavy government. The Office of Court Administration, $500,000 for $400,000 for the administrator, who's hired a whole bunch of people below that person for $200,000, $300,000 each to try to get the job done. When I was there, we had one Office of Court Administration administrator with 2 or 3 people below him. That was it. Now, I know we have more courts, but do we need a team that big, that high salary? And then look at the chiefs of staff. You talk about that yet?
That's crazy.
$400,000,
yeah,
$500,000.
$400,000 for a chief of staff.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
I got a question. What about the state of juvenile crime in Harris County? What is that right now? Can you expand on it?
Well, that's what I was talking about. It's almost up at 300%. I mean, it's out of control. The truth is that, if you go talk to anybody expert within gang violence within our city, the youth, and here's a big issue, because of the open borders that have come through, you have a lot of Latino gangs or Latin American gangs. I can't say Latino gangs that came through the border. What they don't realize is that these people hate each other. Right, the Hondurans and the Mexicans, they don't like each other. The Venezuelans, and then you're going to stick them into a community that is a Spanish-speaking community, and they don't like each other. Well, then what do? They enroll themselves into schools, and what happens? the cliques start happening, the gangs start forming, and then now they're at war, right? Which is ridiculous. It's crazy because it's overflowing into our communities.
Do they have parents?
I mean, that's a whole different other conversation. You know?
And there's more to it. That's a big part of it there. But we live over there to the north side. Moody Park is there. The kids can't go there. The swimming pool's been closed for years. They don't have anything to do. We see kids all over the place. We talk to kids everywhere, and they don't have any recreation. And then a lot of them are afraid. That's why we have a lot of kids carrying weapons. And if you want to know why they're afraid, just turn on the TV. You'll see why they're afraid. They're getting shot out in front of school sometimes. I mean, I talk to a lot of people down on the street level, and you probably do too. Women are afraid. The elderly are afraid. Children are afraid because crime is so bad. We've got to take this county back and get back to holding people accountable who actually commit crimes. And we got to keep them in jail. If they need to be there, they need to stay there. And people say, oh, well, bail shouldn't be punishment. Well, if you're out killing 2 or 3 people, you probably don't need to be on the streets. The list of victims just piling up.
Okay, so the
week.
Democrat solution to this most likely is Anise Parker as county judge. And of course, our pastors play an integral part of our communities.
Yeah.
So, should Anise Parker get elected? Well, let me pull back. Is the pastor community going to support Anise Parker, knowing the history between those two groups?
No,
absolutely not.
Okay, tell me why. Tell me what that story is between those two groups.
So in 2015, she brought out the Hero Ordinance, which she wanted to be able to.
Was that when she was mayor?
Yeah. Yeah, so she wanted to basically do the bathroom, unisex, and all the other stuff that she wanted to put in there. And I think in the city there's still unisex restrooms, if I'm not mistaken, which the mayor could stop that here in the city. But anyways, she
so
says
men can still go into a women's restroom
in the city. I believe it's still like that,
and that's a legacy of Anise Parker.
Yes,
and we have a record number of assaults happening in the city, and yet we're allowing men to go in close quarter places with women who are very vulnerable.
Correct. We've got to protect our women and children.
It's like it's like a recipe for disaster. It's like a match on a fire. It's just ridiculous.
Most small businesses, what they did, they made their bathrooms unisex. Whoever can go in, but it's not for the big stalls where you have the.
It's one unit, so you go and lock the door behind you.
Yes, that's most of.
But
that's
in the public places, though, the women have to go into a place where potentially a predator is in there.
Yeah. So back to Mayor Anise Parker. She wanted to subpoena all Houston area pastors' sermons for a Sunday to see if there's any hate speech on there, right? So if you talked about, homosexuality or marriage between man and woman, if you talked about, whatever she considered hate speech. And so there was 5 pastors, which we call them the Fat Five. They ended up filing a lawsuit. We actually had a rally at Grace Community Church on 45 South. And, man, that whole place was packed. Probably 10,000 people that came out. So this is what I'll tell you. The pastors didn't forget. We won't forget. And there's no way. If there's one thing that she's about to do is unite the pastors across this county to come together.
And they play a big role.
There's no way. And with the Johnson Amendment that just came out this year, which allows churches to endorse pastors can endorse candidates now on a Sunday morning without any repercussions from the IRS or any law enforcement.
Yeah.
So now pastors can go out there and endorse and talk about these issues on what she did. So honestly, I hope she is the Democrat primary person because that's going to make it real easy for the Republicans to get in.
She is probably their best candidate, their most likely candidate, I would say.
Probably. She's definitely the most experienced, right? She's the one of the ones that gets in line, I guess, for them. But we're not going to play that game with the pastors here in Harris County. I can tell you that.
All right, guys.
I was watching What's Your Point? Dr. Lira was on there, and when he was asked about her, he brought up some kind of issue that happened in the East End, and he said that Latinos were never going to back her up. I don't remember what it was, but he hadn't forgotten.
Yeah.
All right, guys, finish up Oscar. So tell us about your state of your campaign. You're running for county judge. Tell us about the state of your campaign and where we can learn more about you.
Well, you can go online and learn about me. You can talk to me. You can call me because on my cards I have my number. But basically, I'm born and raised here. Started out over in the east side on not the east side. I come from Tuffley Park in Fifth Ward, and then from there we moved over to the Heights whenever they had serial killers, and I made it through that. And then from there, I graduated high school, not Heights High School, it's Reagan High School in 1980. Got my dream job in 1988 and retired in 2018.
As a county sheriff, deputy.
Yep, as a deputy sheriff. And I retired, and I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this for us. Because my moral compass won't let me sit on the sidelines while I watch everybody, these people, burning this place down to the ground. I've got to try. And so that's why I'm in the race.
Well, it's going to be a race of epic proportions. I cannot wait to see this thing come to a head. And Richard, tell us about the state of your campaign for County Commissioner Precinct 2.
Yep.
And where we can learn more about you.
Yeah, so Harris County Commissioners Precinct 2 is the largest commissioner seat in the state of Texas. President Trump won that seat, so we're really excited. Our campaign is rocking. We are crushing it out there. We are the campaign team to be on, so you guys can find me at richardvega.us. That's richardvega.us. Link up with us, and we're ready to hit that ground and keep on doing what we got to get done to be able to take back Harris County.
Right. Well, I appreciate both of your time. I think it's going to be an incredible election season, and I think that in Harris County, the Republicans are bringing a very interesting slate that cannot be dismissed, and I would even say is quite formidable. So it could be a surprising election. It could be a turn of events in Harris County, a lifelong, or for some time now, a Democrat county could be possibly turning red. That's what it looks like to me. So, well, thank you, gentlemen, both. And this is Chris Heasley, and we will be back on Saturday with one more hot topic. Have a great week.